show finally gave the Ringers Philly Crew a podcast. I'm Ben Solak.
And I'm Sheil Kapadia. That's right, just a couple of Philly guys with a new space to fire off some Eagles takes, get caught up in the Sixers chaos, and more.
We'll be coming to you twice a week on Sundays and Thursdays, plus bonus episodes whenever we get breaking news or Philly drama.
Join the fun and follow the Ringers Philly special now on Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Anytime Fitness. We may talk a whole lot about sports, but when it comes to keeping fit ourselves, there's definitely room for improvement. I hit this point early July. I was just like, I am not in good enough shape. I started trying to walk at least 15,000 steps a day, or hiking, or just anything to keep my legs moving. Now it's the end of 2023. I feel great. I had a physical 3 weeks ago, and the guy was like, "You're doing great. You're doing better than you were 3 years ago." I felt great. Whatever your goals are, progress is possible thanks to Anytime Fitness. Get a personalized plan and support from an expert coach anytime, anywhere. Visit anytimefitness.com to try Anytime Fitness for free. Start to train for your life. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. See website for details.
Welcome back to the Ringers NBA Draft Show. My name's Kevin O'Connor, and joining me once again is the Ringers J. Kyle Mann. How are you doing, Kyle?
Super duper. I've recovered from my illness from the other day, from the last time we talked. I'm just vibing. I'm moonwalking across the house. Had a great Christmas. Feeling good. How about you?
Had a great Christmas. My mom cooked her family recipe lasagna. It was absolutely delicious. Had a great time with her first Christmas in LA. No snow. Not cold. Walk outside without a jacket. It was a nice day. Kyle.
Wish I could relate.
Hey, you got to do a visit out here to LA. We'll do some in-person pods. Come out here in the 2023 year, Kyle. Coming right up.
You held your fingers up like really close. Like people can't see this, but he kind of held his fingers close together like he was doing a small increment or measurement or something. And I thought that was an interesting gesture to do when you're talking about lasagna of all things. Like, you know, there's nothing petite. Or were you doing the Italian
I think
underhand?
I don't know. I don't know if I did either.
I thought you were doing like
sometimes I talk with my hands. They just do things.
Do they? I don't feel like you're a big hand talker. I don't know. But yeah, you're holding it up. I was like, speaking of New Year's resolutions, we were talking about like eating whole pizzas, you know. Or is that one resolution for you, like avoiding eating a whole like large pizza this year?
I'm in the process of trying to lose weight.
That sounded cruel. Yeah. What I said sounded cruel. We were joking about eating whole pizzas earlier. I really didn't mean it that way.
We were joking with our post credits on last week's show. Talked about pizza. I do not eat whole pizzas anymore. But I am in the process of trying to lose weight. So that is my resolution for 2023. I don't make resolutions. I've been doing this for a month plus since the season started, really. But my goal is to get in the quote unquote best shape of my life.
Oh, yeah.
That's my goal, Kyle. I want to get back. I lost 40 pounds back in 2011 into 2012. Starting around the same weight that I am now. So over like 10 years, I gained all the weight that I lost.
I have similar experience.
Losing your dad in a pandemic doesn't help it with gaining weight. So, but it's like I'll lose the weight, get in the best shape of my life. And hopefully by next season, that's the hope. By the start of the 23-24 NBA season, at that point, I want to be like,
yeah, we're kind of like, you and I are we're not like steady stasis guys in that sense. It's like, I'm very up and down. I had a similar experience. I lost like 65, 70 pounds in like 2011. I got kind of big and have just kind of gradually gained it back. The pandemic, like you said, I don't know. What's your before we get into this, like, are you a weightlifter? Are you a runner? What's your thing?
I like riding a stationary bike. I got a Peloton earlier this year, which has been awesome. Like, I love it. It's motivating. It's fun. The music's a good time. I really enjoy it. Like, genuinely enjoy it. It's like a good bike too. Like, I really like it. I like doing that. I don't like lifting weights. I like resistance bands. I've really found, like, I started doing those in 2018 and like, I found those very beneficial, enjoyable to do. Like, I have, like some weights, but not like, I don't go to the gym and, lay down and lift a bar or whatever. I don't, none of that stuff. I've never been into that. I like working out from home, doing HIIT workouts as well, like without any weights or anything like that. Like there's this great 15-minute HIIT workout with this guy that looks like Russell Brand. I forget.
Does he talk like Russell Brand? That would get old.
People call him Muscle Brand.
Oh my!
On YouTube,
Oh my.
I think his name is the Body Coach. He has a great 15-minute HIIT workout that I like doing. So yeah, I like doing HIIT workouts, resistance bands, and the stationary bike for cardio. And going for walks as well. Like just going for walks. It's like not exercise like for cardio, losing weight, but it's nice just to go on a walk and enjoy the air outside. Like that's mentally a good little workout to do with my mom.
Psychologically, your mom. Yeah, there you go again. Old Brick Kev. Yeah, psychologically good to go outside. I don't like going to I'm a play basketball guy. I've been my whole life. Probably gonna have to change that at some point, but like add to it. I don't like going to our gym because I'm kind of private about lifting weights. B, there's always some dude in there
that's grunting, Kyle. You don't want people to hear you. It's like, why are you private about it?
There's always some guy in there that like is going to comment on like the way you're using it. Maybe that's a commentary on me using things incorrectly. But the other thing is
that a thing in gyms? People comment.
We'll have to ask Russillo about the gym culture. I'm not as dialed in.
Is Ryan the guy who's making comments? Is Ryan, hating on your technique?
No, I've never worked out around Ryan. I'd be too terrified, number one, because of my weight limit and also because of my technique. I'm sure it's wrong. But I think Ryan has said, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's said if it's really bad, he'll intervene if somebody's going to hurt themselves. But the other thing about my gym is it's a game of can I avoid seeing the old, really proud naked dudes that are just kind of prancing around in the locker room? Because there's a lot of them in the Jewish Community Center that I go to.
You want to go to a gym, not a lemon party.
Exactly. I don't want to see old balls. That's kind of the thing that I want to, and they just really don't care. It's a generational thing, I think. But anyway, let's talk about New Year's resolutions as it pertains to draft.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today, we're each going to share 2 resolutions for NBA draft prospects with things we want to see them work on in the coming year. Kyle, do you want to start off or do you want me to start off?
I'll start off.
Okay.
Speaking of balls, Jaime Jaquez. This guy's got some stones on him.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not saying that because he beat up on Kentucky recently. I think like a year and a half ago, I went on our guy Chad Ford's, the OG of OGs. Chad Ford went on his show, and I remember we were talking about players that we liked that we could see in the NBA succeeding. And Jaime Jaquez is a guy that's gotten better. I've been just fascinated to watch his development. He's gotten better every year he's been in college. He went from like the gritty kind of mop the floor guy to the point where he's moved into kind of a primary role. His footwork, creating his own shot, has like improved just exponentially. The next step for him, for me, I would just like to see him like add some like shooting consistency from the outside at this point. This year he's shooting 22.7% on 1.8 attempts, but he's hovered at about 75% from the line for his career. I think if he adds that, man, I just feel like he's a guy that's going to like directly, quickly interface with a good team in the NBA. Maybe not a good team, but a team. He just does a lot of things. Like he does a lot of small things, and he's a smart player. If I see shooting consistency from him, I feel like we could see him climb. Honestly, he's a little older, but I could see him climb
high.
Yeah,
like if he starts shooting consistently, he's a top 20 pick. I don't care about the age aspect because he can defend. He can play make a little bit. The footwork, I mean, like some of the, like it's just gorgeous to watch. Like some of the, I mean, he does it every game, but that Kentucky game you're talking about, what was it, first quarter? Like he put everybody in a spin cycle, man, with some of those post-ups.
And I saw it coming, Kev. I saw it coming. It was like one of those things where you like imagine a conversation going badly and then it like just unfolds exactly the way you think it would. I was just like, man, they don't have an answer for this guy. And then he just starts picking them apart. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. It was a bittersweet moment because I enjoy watching him play, but it was at my expense that day. But I love Jaime Jaquez.
It's as if he just like downloads Kevin McHale footage into his brain.
Yeah, and he bullies people. That's the thing too. You like to see guys that can bully but don't depend on it, but he does. He takes no prisoners.
My first resolution is for a guy we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, Brandon Miller out of Alabama. I hope he figures out how to score inside the arc. That's what he needs to be working on. Everything inside the arc. We know he can shoot threes. We know that already. He's at 36% on layups, 31% on floaters, 31% on 2-point jumpers. For Brandon Miller to solidify himself as a potential top 5 guy, to be on a guaranteed top 10 level, he's got to do more than just shoot threes at a high level and like defend at a very good level and play make at a very good level. The interior scoring is what could separate him as a guy. Like, I don't agree with this, but someone texted me saying he's like a Davis Bertans. And I'm like, no, he's not. He is better than a Davis Bertans. But to that person's point, they're just saying, what does he do outside of score from the perimeter? I was like, well, he can play make. Put him in an NBA situation where he can play make for you. You can do that. But to their point, he does need to improve as an interior scorer near the basket. And that's going to come in time, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. As he gets stronger, he knows he needs to get stronger. He thinks he'll get better as he gets stronger. It's not like he's afraid of contact. He's tough. He's just really, really skinny. And his handling needs to get a bit tighter. So that's what I hope he's working on during the season with Alabama and then throughout the pre-draft process.
Man, he had a doozy of a game the other day against Gonzaga. I was like texting you. I was just like, it was one of those where you like lean back after he was on one. He had 36 points. 6 rebounds, went 6 for 11 from the field. He had a doozy of a game, 6 for 11 from 3, 54.5%. But yeah, I think you're right.
He was amazing. I wasn't watching that game live until the end. That dude was unbelievable.
He was doing it all over the place. Yeah.
He's got some good games coming up, by the way. He's got Kentucky on Saturday, January 7th.
Well, you want to highlight challenges, Kev. I don't think that one's going to be much of a challenge. So anyway, no, my next one is a guy who was like touted. Dereck Lively, man. The main reason here is Lively's been in and out of the lineup. We know he had some injury issues that have kind of slowed his start. He had an illness the other night against Wake Forest that had him out, and I believe Dereck Whitehead was out as well. His season high for minutes on the season is 23. He's just failed to launch in a way. I just want to get a better look at him, honestly. There were people coming into college that were like lower or more skeptical about him as a player, weren't sure about him being ranked, as high as number 1. I just want to get a better look at him for the sake of the conversation. But the other flip side of that I was going to say to you is I'd imagine, I feel like smart teams love this, like teams that evaluate well outside of the college setting. Like, I feel like it's a chance to really, really make a big value play, kind of the way some guys will fall if they're misused in college. I just want to see Dereck Lively play because I think defensively his upside, he started to trend in a good direction lately, and they really missed him, I think, against Wake Forest. He's just somebody that I think has more to show, and I hope we get to see it.
I mean, I feel similarly about Dereck Whitehead as well. It's been a tough start for Duke with those 2-star freshmen being in and out of the lineup. In the case of Lively, Whitehead not starting the year. Like, I'd love to see that team get those guys both super healthy, playing 25, 30 minutes. Like, I think Duke would look a hell of a lot different. Like you said, that Wake Forest game, they really missed his interior presence. Where are you at with Lively? Like, do you think he's Lotto guy still? Or are you a top 20, top 25 guy?
Lotto. I still think he's Lotto. And if we saw more from him, I'm still like, I'm a little softer on him, I think, than the consensus. I referenced the people who kind of wondered why he was ranked as high as 1. I was one of those people that was unsure about him being ranked that high. He was a guy that I paid attention to, admittedly, because Kentucky was recruiting him. I saw him even closer. I was paying a lot of attention to him. But yeah, I would probably have him somewhere in that like 8 to 13 range, like maybe in the range there where like the Durans and the Mark Williams last year. I feel like it's going to be that same kind of range because you don't always see those guys. It kind of flip-flops. If you're confident about their upside, you might take them earlier, like a Robert Williams. If we like redid it and came back around, we're like, hey, the league's going to trend this way. He has that kind of upside to be sort of like a disruptive, open space, cover mistakes, be a little switchable. But we just need to see more of it for me to become more confident about that.
Yeah, and I think also he's the type of guy where he'll probably be better suited to play in the NBA. Like if he gets drafted to a team that has a point guard that can run high pick and roll with a space floor, like Lively's going to thrive on lob dunks, finishes around the basket. Like he's that type of player. And never mind if he is able to tap into some of the perimeter flashes we've seen from him at both the high school level and a little bit here and there with Duke. I mean, that's when you get into like this guy's a steal in the mid-first. But like I think at a minimum, like defensively with his size, rim protection, you hope that develops, and then the interior finishing, like there's a foundation for him to build on at the least.
Yeah, I'd say so.
My next guy is Marcus Sasser, Houston point guard. Like NBA teams know what to expect from him as a senior guard. He tested the waters last year. He told me the main thing that they want to see from him is playmaking. He has not done a lot of that this year. He's not a primary, point guard for Houston. I'd like to see him aspire to reach a career high in assists. His career high through his 4 years at Houston is 7. Let's get to 10. Let's have a game where you just make everybody better. We know you can get to the basket, and finish. We know you can create your shot from the perimeter. We know you're a tough defender. You get skinny through screens. You fight. You play hard. We know you do all those things. And that's why you're like a borderline first-round draft pick right now. But as a 6'1", 6'2" guard with like a below-the-rim, skill set, like you gotta show that you can make your teammates better consistently as a playmaker. So I want to see that from Marcus Sasser this year. I like him a lot. I think he can do it. I think he's capable. I just want to actually see it happen instead of it being a theoretical.
I thought initially you were saying you wanted him to average 10 assists, and I was like, Jesus, Kev, that's pretty tough in the college game.
That's a little unfair. That's like asking myself to have a six-pack by next season.
Yeah, it would be tough. This year, to speak to what you're talking about, I mean, yeah, he's always leaned a little more scoring. And those guys have interesting paths going to the NBA because, like, if you lean scoring and you're that high, you got to be pretty elite to trade on that to go to the next level. In, like, pick-and-roll situations where the defense commits, he's been pretty good this year, 1.19 points per possession. But a lot of that has been like him getting into the lane, like he's got those little push floaters in the lane, things like that. You want to see him operate more in traffic and get off the ball quicker. But Houston kind of depends on him to be that way for their offense because they're not like the most offensively stellar team in the country. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. It'd be nice to see him do that so you could put him like as a second side creator next to maybe another like primary scorer because those guys are valuable in the NBA.
So on New Year's Eve, Kyle, if you're a loser like me and you'll probably be home watching college basketball and NBA, there's some great games to watch that.
Always so belittling, self-deprecating, Kev. Jeez.
I mean, I haven't gotten an invite to anything.
He's asking for an invite, folks. If you
maybe
have
I'm the one who needs to initiate all these hangs. That's what's going to happen.
Well, you've told me that you're not a very... you were teasing me about texting. I was just like, I check in, I'm a mover and a shaker. In high school, I was kind of I was like a social broker, I was like, hey, what's going on? Oh, this group's doing this. Hey, let's connect. Like I was a connector. Are you like a hang back and like?
Well, I mean, I would say my main friend group throughout my entire life from sophomore year of high school until I moved to LA. I was not the initiator, minus the big stuff. I organized a trip to Montreal. I organized a trip to this place and that place. The big stuff I organized. But the day-to-day, one of my friends was the one who always initiated that. Like, hey, we're doing this on Friday. We're doing this on Saturday. So it was never my responsibility on a weekly basis. And I got much better at that my first year in LA. Like, my first year in LA, it was towards the end. I was like, okay, I'm going to be organizing. Hey, we're going to do, a dinner at this place. We're going to do, an escape room with some of your coworkers. Like I became that person. And then I was back and forth between LA and Boston because my dad's situation. So I kind of fell off doing that besides doing dinners when I was back here. And then the pandemic happened. I gotta regrow that muscle, Kyle, of being the one to organize. Because one thing I've realized in life is that if you want something to happen, like you got to make it happen yourself.
Yeah.
It's just true. You can't be relying on others to, make things happen for you. So if I want to have dinner with friends or do something on New Year's, I got to be the one to say, hey, let's go do this. Let's go party, boys. Let's go.
Do you say it in that still kind of voice? Because if one of my friends said it like that, I'd be like, what are we getting into? I'm not interested. I don't think I understand. I guess it's weird to hear somebody talk about it that like I'm naturally wired like that. Yeah. I'm always like, hey, what's going on?
You're a very frequent texter. Yes.
I check in on people. That's just kind of my mode. And
which I appreciate very much. It is a kind thing to do. And I wish I were wired like that naturally, but I'm the type where I can go 7 months without speaking to somebody and then pick it right back up as if no time had passed. I'm that type. Where like it doesn't matter how much time has passed at all.
You said that to me the other day. You were like, yeah, we can just go. It reminded me of that clip from The Office where Angela was like, we haven't spoken in 16 years and I forgot why. You know, it's like Kevin's like, God just doesn't circle back with his
It really
friend.
doesn't matter to me at all. No.
I'm always kind of keeping like a ledger where I'm like, are we cool with this person? That some of that could be just paranoia. But I think if you like lay back, yeah, you're going to set yourself up to be like, no one's inviting me or something. It's like the reality in life.
Then you're
if you're younger,
and no accountability, no agency over my life. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you're a younger person listening to this, I think one of the big lessons to learn is like no one's thinking about you. Like no one.
Nobody.
They're thinking about themselves. So text your friends and make something happen. That's what I would say.
100%. You got to take agency over your life.
If you are stuck at home, is there a game that like you think that, let's say someone has a broken leg and they can't move, Kev, or let's say someone gets COVID and they're homebound. What do you think people should be watching?
That's what happened last year. I had a date on New Year's Eve and I got COVID and she got COVID too. And we weren't able to go out. Anyway.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's whatever. That happens. But this year, yeah, at least it wasn't a broken leg for the both of us.
Is Ben Cruz here? Did he just sneak in? What is this about?
Ben Cruz, a ringer boss on the podcast side of things, is in our Zoom chat, and he says at least it wasn't a broken leg each in our Zoom chat.
Yeah, did you trifle with the mafia? Yeah, you don't want to have that. You don't want to get two broken legs on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, but if
you don't want to owe Richie
home,
a pre-old money.
If you're stuck at home for any reason, you don't want to go out, you have a broken leg, whatever it is, I'd be watching Gonzaga versus Pepperdine. And there's a couple of guys in this team, in this game. Drew Timme, a lot of people know him by now, senior prospect, interior guy for Gonzaga. Julian Strother, 3-and-D style wing, 6'7". He's shooting the ball really well this year for Gonzaga. He shot 32% from three as a freshman, up to 37% as a sophomore, at 41% now, 13 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. Small sample so far early this season, but I like the progress there. The guy that I really want to watch is Maxwell Lewis on the Pepperdine side. He's a 6'7" sophomore, averaging 18 points, shooting 46% from three. I just love the way this dude plays. I mentioned 3-and-D for Strother. You can see that for Lewis too. And he can also do a little bit off the dribble as well. Granted, the level of competition for Pepperdine, it's not like he's facing top 25 schools every single night. This is a good barometer for him. I hope to have Strother versus Lewis matched up sometimes in this game, just to measure each of their games against each other. But I really like Maxwell Lewis. I have him ranked as a top 20-ish guy, top 25-ish guy right now out of Pepperdine. I got to get to a game in person at some point soon to see them there in Malibu.
You keep talking about that. Yeah, you wanted to get over to Malibu.
It's a beautiful drive down the PCH. It's a lovely drive.
We'll need to get like a camera on the side of the car. Well, we'll have to send Richie Bozak with you and just film that whole thing. Why don't you
come out? Bring your camera, Kyle.
I'll be your camera guy. How about that?
You can set it up. We can have cameras on both of us. Go for a drive to Malibu.
Now I'm going to follow you around with like a full body Steadicam and just kind of latch onto your celebrity. No, I think that Lewis, great size, like you said, has been shooting it well at a high volume, 46.3, getting to the line a little bit, but getting off the ball too. And that's something that I like to see from my guys that shoot the ball well. It comes out of like, if you want to pay attention to like the high school level and get on prospects early, AZ Compass Prep is a school that like produces high level guys frequently. And that's where he played. But yeah, I'll have to get out there and see him at Pepperdine. That's going to be a matchup to see. Strother versus Lewis. Gonzaga has a few guys. Nolan Hickman's interesting. Anton Watson's interesting. They're not quite as good this year, but that'll be a good matchup, I think, between those two.
How about you, Kyle? What game are you watching on New Year's Eve?
This is a random one. There's not, honestly, we do this TV guide segment. And normally there's like, you have to kind of pick. There's not a ton of like really jump off the page. You could get nuance with it. One just to watch, number 16, Illinois is going to be playing Missouri, and they're 10-1 right now. Missouri's not really great this year, but Illinois has a couple of guys that could be like second rounder types that could be like a flyer. Maybe a team gets them in their developmental system. Coleman Hawkins is a weird player.
I like him.
I have a friend who's an Illinois fan, and I was like, he's kind of like a poor man's Justin Jackson in that, like, he's a 6'10" guy who like adds all these like weird toolsy ways to impact the game. He has a little passing. He has like guard skills. He's huge. The other guy is Terrence Shannon, who transferred from Texas Tech. Terrence Shannon had moments at Texas Tech where he just looked like an all-out badass. It was like, this guy's like a first-round pick, but he's been very up and down. He's continued to be up and down this year. Inconsistent shooter, but he's somebody that could surface on a team as like a second rounder or a two-way guy. Where do you see him getting picked at this point, or does he get picked at all?
I think the both of them could be late first, early to mid second. Like that's the range for them. That's a wide range. With Shannon, you're right. Like you'd want to see some shooting consistency from him. Like he can defend, right? Like you can get that out of him. He's relentless on that end. Last year, not as good. This year, been better for Illinois. Like, it was a weird season for Texas Tech last year. Like, they had a new head coach. The roster stunk. I understand. This year, he's been better defensively again. But the streaky shooting is still there. The inconsistent scoring is still there. I like him. I want to love him. I am not there yet with him. And then with Coleman Hawkins, like you could make this comparison a lot of ways. I'll use the word immature. He's like an immature Al Horford in the sense that like he makes some of like the worst decisions out there as a passer.
Oh yeah,
like he makes mistakes you never see a Horford make. But with the size, you can use him in DHOs. You can have him bring the ball up the floor a little bit. I like the idea of Coleman Hawkins. Him at the NBA level with some of the fouls he commits. I mean, like if I were an Illinois fan, I think I probably would have like thrown my remote across the room with some of the stuff that he does, man. Like, it's some really bad decisions, but I don't want to like take away from the highlights either. Like this dude can sling it, man. Like he's a good passer as a 6'10", 6'11" big man. Like he's been better defensively. He can score around the rim. I like him. I like him as a late first, early second type. Any higher than that, I don't know.
I would feel ill, taking a huge swing on him. But it's funny that those two as a tandem are just very, like, on one night, there might be a team that gets up against them in the tournament, and they both just look like first-round picks and knock a good team out. Like, they're that type of variance. And then there are nights where you're just like, what is going on with this team? I just find Illinois fascinating, honestly. Hawkins
had a foul against Texas, I believe it was, and, like, Illinois was up by 4 points in overtime. And then, like, from behind, he, like, chased down a three-point shooter and had no chance of blocking the shot. No chance. But he went for the shot anyway and got, like, more leg and wrists than he did ball. And it's just one of those moments. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Be smart. Stop it. Like, get this out of your system and you can be an NBA player for a long time. Just get it out of your system. That's all he's going to do.
Yeah, he could. If he becomes a little more consistent of a shooter, like you said, he can pass it a little bit.
He can pass it a lot, man. Like some of the passes he makes are woo. Like it gets you excited.
Yeah, people should understand too. This isn't like a low like a front court. I mean, he's more of a like leaning perimeter forward than he is like a bang. He's like he is kind of, he's built like Justin Jackson. I really mean that. Like he adds the kind of like guard things, like cutting in between the offense, adding passing, but the shooting is like very here and there. Like, that's who he kind of reminds me of, honestly.
Those are some New Year's resolutions for them. Coleman Hawkins, stop making silly mistakes. Terrence Shannon, develop some shooting consistency.
I think those are fair.
Kyle, I look forward to the new year with many more podcasts with you. Like this year is only going to pick up, man, right? It's just December right now.
Yeah.
Got a long way to go this college season. Got a lot of non-conference games coming up in January. Got the conference tournaments in February, late February into early March. Then, of course, we got March Madness coming up. We're going to do some in-person pods too, right? That's the plan.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. We have all kinds of things that we want to do, and we've only just begun. There's so much more to talk about. Yeah, the fall is just the warm-up. Yeah, we're getting ready to ramp. It'll be here before you know it, the ramp up to the end of the year.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Ringers NBA Draft Show. Do us a favor and subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast. Thank you to Jessie Lopez producing. Have a happy New Year, everybody.